Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I have a new guest, Imam Omar Shakir. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. I'm so happy we had a chance to do this. I don't know if you want your listeners to know how we met or anything, if you're going to tell that story.
Yes, please do. I've already had Sister Martha on by the time this video comes out, and then I've already posted it and have Bishop Alexander on. So what's called? We mentioned you a couple of times in passing of like, oh yeah, the meeting like where you and Sister Martha came on and spoke, stuff like that. But if you want to dive more into that, you can say more about how we met.
Yeah, Alexander and I met at the University of Incarnate Word, where he has a few classes there with Sister Martha Ann Kirk, Bishop Trevor Alexander. And we had an opportunity to talk to them about Islam, talk to them about the history of Islam in America, specifically among the African American community. And the information that was shared, I think Alexander was inspired to say, hey, maybe we could talk about some of these things on my podcast. So we exchanged information, and then he followed up. So here we are. Now, I will share a little bit with your audience. They may already be familiar. I don't know how familiar they are with the religion of Islam, commonly called Islam. But when you introduce me as Imam Omar Shakir, I want them to know that Imam is not my name.
Not at all.
Omar Shakir is my name. Imam is my title, kind of like rabbi, father, bishop. These are, in the Islamic terminology, the Imam is like the leader of the prayer, the spiritual leader of the mosque. And actually, we're doing this shooting at Masjid Bilal Ibn Rabah in San Antonio, on the east side of San Antonio, where I have the honor of being the resident imam of the community here. So just a little bit more about that.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned about us being here, because if you can tell in the background, you can see many different things that correlate with the culture of Islam. Like there's the letters up here.
Right. We're doing a class where we're starting to look at the alphabet. The alphabet in the different forms, whether it's in the middle or the beginning or the end, it has different forms, but that's the alphabet. Yes, sir.
That's awesome to see. I love like learning languages and like kind of like diving into people's culture through their language. And like I may have said it in a previous video, but I was a really picky eater growing up. Like one of the only things you can get me to eat was chicken nugget dinosaurs with mac and cheese. Like that was one of the only things as a kid.
Had to be dinosaurs, right?
Oh, had to be the dinosaur ones. But what's called over time, like my love for like learning languages, learning culture, made me grow to like try different foods, try like to understand what like the cultures that bring people. And I'm glad that when I walked in, I saw the language, because to me that is like one of the biggest connectors to a culture.
But what I want to share with that, there is a misunderstanding in the world that Islam is like an Arab religion or something like that. What your audience might be interested to know, that in the Muslim world, and these are only estimates, but they say there's about 2 billion Muslims in the world today. 2 billion.
That's awesome numbers.
And it's been growing. The experts also say we're the fastest growing religion in the world. But I'm bringing this up because of the 2 billion of us, our Arab brothers are a minority in the faith.
Interesting.
They make up about 18 to 20%. So the other 80% are other ethnicities, other cultures, but also Indonesia is a big population.
Oh, yes.
Indonesia. So you have Muslims in Africa, you have Muslims in Asia, in the subcontinent, Muslims in Europe, etc. But the reason why we focus on Arabic, not because it's an Arab religion. Yes, Muhammad the Prophet, upon him be peace, was an Arab. But it is because that we believe the final revelation of Almighty God was revealed in the Arabic language.
Interesting.
That's why we want to learn Arabic, because whenever you translate a language, you lose some of its essence. So the better meaning, the deeper meaning, makes us students of Arabic. That's why it's not because it was an Arab or it came to the Arabs, but also the Arabic language of the Quran has two profound purposes. Number one, it recreated, maybe that's not the best word, but what it did is it changed Arabic in the Peninsula of Arabia. They were already speaking Arabic, but when the Quran was revealed, it made it like classical. It made it like a standard, a higher standard. And so even the Arabs had to kind of relearn some things because it had some nuances that they weren't used to. So the Quran gives you that formal, that classical sense of Arabic. But also, the Arabic language is so eloquent and so profound that it can carry the weighty message of the Quran. The Quran has a weighty message, and some other languages might not have been able to carry it as well as the Arabic language. And I'll give you an example. And I know this might not be your topic for today, but just to make this point. The English word Lord, you're familiar with Lord.
Yes,
L-O-R-D, Lord. Okay, now we're not so much talking about what that means in the English language, but this is the point I want to make. The Arabic word, Rabb, R-A-B-B phonetically, Rabb, it's translated Lord. But really that one word is not adequate to give the deep meaning of Rabb. And I'm going to show you. Yes, for simplicity's sake, we can say Rabb is Lord. Allah is God, for simplicity's sake. But the meaning of Rabb, watch this, Alexander. Rabb means that Almighty God takes his creation and he oversees its development from infancy to maturity. And he watches over it and sustains it and preserves it while it's going through that process. Did you hear all those English words I had to use?
Yeah, for that
That's
one
all Rabb.
word.
That's all Rabb.
That's crazy.
That's the depth of Arabic.
That's cool. And like kind of like piggybacking off of what you said, I've learned that there is a bunch of different like words or phrases in like other languages that like can't be described or like have to be like heavily described in order for people in English to understand it.
Because you can't translate it.
Exactly.
There's words like that in Arabic. I'm not going to pretend to know enough about that to give you the example, but maybe Rabb is one of them that I just gave you.
Rabb seems to be one of them, and that's really fascinating to learn about. You mentioned earlier about like misunderstandings of Islam. What would you say is the biggest misunderstanding about like the Muslim community?
I can give you a few, but let me just give you a couple.
Okay.
Maybe like from today's headlines or whatever. Number one, a big misunderstanding is that the God of the Muslims is a different God than our Christian and Jewish brothers.
Oh yes,
that's a big misunderstanding.
Yep, I found that out just like a year or two ago that they were the same God.
Well, what I want, what we need to understand, there is only one God in our theology. And our Christian and Jewish brothers will tell you the same thing. You ask a Christian, how many gods are there? They're going to say one. Jews are going to say one. So I like to speak in the context of the Abrahamic traditions, not negating other faiths, but I'm part of the Abrahamic tradition. I'm part of a progression. I'm part of an evolution. It started with Judaism, then Christianity, and Islam is the third of the major Abrahamic faith. So there's only one God. The God of Abraham, the God of Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, there's only one God. So that's a big misunderstanding. Matter of fact, the Quran comes 600 years after Jesus. 600 years after Jesus.
Did not know that.
So in the Quran, Almighty God addresses some misconceptions in the world. And he addresses this idea of them thinking there's more than one God, or that our God is different. More accurately, our God is different than their God. God actually revealed a verse in the Quran that says, "O Muhammad, tell the Christians and the Jews that your God and our God is one and the same God."
That's powerful, and I think that that's been heavily downsized and definitely downplayed in the media, because especially with all like the media that goes on in like the Middle East and stuff like that, so many people separate like the Christianity from Muslim traditions, which yes, they are different. Y'all like see things differently, but ultimately y'all are worshiping the same God. Y'all are worshiping, and y'all do have a lot of the same morals in a sense compared to the others. Like for instance, I remember you talked about at one of like the meetings that like you and Bishop would go together and like have like coffee together, go eat somewhere, and just talk about like what needs to be like talked about, what needs to be worked on, and like helped with it in the world.
Common interests, common concerns, common interests. Because really, if I could use this example, the devil don't care what you call yourself. He's the enemy of all of us. So yeah, so that's one misconception. Another misconception is that we're a religion of war, that we hate Christians and Jews, that we're fanatics, that we're terrorists. When in reality, when you look at our history, yes, we have wars in our history, but if you don't want to go there, because you remember the Crusades, other faith traditions have had wars. That's not where you want to go. Our religion is a religion of peace. Even when you study our history, when Muhammad the Prophet, upon him be peace, was here on this earth, he did not attack people. He fought in self-defense, and he would not even physically fight until a verse from the Quran came that told him to fight. So he's fighting under the guidance of God. He's not just bloodthirsty or hateful. But think about it, all of us have the right to defend ourselves. So he fought in the spirit of being defensive. But also, once Muhammad, upon him be peace, got into power, it took 23 years, but he became in power. When he became in power, he did not retaliate against those that even killed his close family members. He declared amnesty, and he forgave that. So this picture they're trying to paint, think about it. We say assalamu alaikum, that's a greeting of peace. It means God's peace be upon you. Our religion is peace, our greeting is peace, and our name is peace. From the Arabic, Alexander, at the root of all of these words, Muslim, Islam, Salam, they come from the same root word that means peace. So our religion is peace.
Yeah, I remember that, and I've noticed that in like whenever we had phone calls like planning this meeting, what's called you would always like say peace be with you, and like the same word was reiterated of peace, and like from just that minute like conversations that we had, I was able to understand of like, oh yes, peaceful religion is not like it's not just like, oh, shoo, be away, or like, oh, I wish harm upon you because you don't believe in the same religion as me.
Exactly.
But it's more of just like, I wish peace upon you, and I wish that you could like go on and have your best life kind of style. Well,
instead of hello, goodbye, good morning, nothing wrong with these salutations. But when the greetings of Muslims coming and going is assalamu alaikum, the peace be unto you. The peace meaning the peace that God gives be unto you. What that does, when I say to you, Alexander, when I see you and I say assalamu alaikum, not only am I wishing peace on you, I'm reminding you and myself that we have an obligation to keep the peace.
That I didn't even think about that one. That one's really good. I think there needs to be like something like that, like in a lot of society, because like as you know right now, currently there's a bunch of wars going on, sadly.
Yes, sir.
And what's called, in that sense, there's not a lot of peace going on, especially since a lot of countries are being dragged into this war. What's called, and reminding yourself and others each and every day that we should choose peace, and that we should like advocate for a peaceful life with each other. I think that is majorly important to showcase the world.
Yeah, as I shared with you in the class, Islam, in my opinion, no disrespect to anyone else, but Islam, in my opinion, really demonstrates this idea, perhaps more so than any other faith, in my opinion. And that the idea I'm speaking of, Alexander, is the idea of one God, one creation, common parents, and here's the main point, one human family.
Yes.
How if I believe and I have a mindset that I'm one with God's creation, all of his creation, the animal life, plant life, sun, moon, all of that, and I'm one with my fellow human beings, and I value human life, and I believe human life is sacred, how could I demonize, marginalize, slaughter other human beings wholesale and not give that a second thought? Sometimes when you see people go to war and do different things, okay, we're going to bomb this. Now, maybe a couple thousand people will get killed, but that's just the expense of doing war. 2,000 souls being killed, and that's just the price of doing war, pardon me. That tells me you don't understand the sacredness of the soul, the sacredness of the human family. And think about it. We have introduced racism, prejudice. So if I can tell you that this group of people over here are less than human, that they deserve this type of treatment, that they deserve to be a slaves or a servant class, and I dehumanize them, then what I do is I desensitize myself and others, and I don't have any consciousness about doing them harm, because I don't see them like I see myself. I don't see them as good as I am. Think about that. We would die for our families. If someone threatened a family member, we would put ourselves in harm's way. Yeah, because you love them, you value them, you respect, but shouldn't we feel that way on some level for all human beings? And many people, they call them good Samaritans. Many people have died saving someone that they didn't even know, because they understand that we're one life, that we're one human family, one common origin, and that we're worth saving. That makes sense?
That makes perfect sense to me. And I like that you brought up the Good Samaritan too, because Bishop Alexander brought up that one too. And it kind of goes back to the idea of that, like, we are all valuable human beings. And like something that my middle school teacher, and it feels like so long ago, but what's called, we were talking about like the extinction of like animals, plants, and like the mass genocides of people. And keep in mind, she's like a science teacher, so like she also got cancer at one point, sadly, but she luckily healed from it and is able to teach again. So that I'm very thankful for that. But what's called, she was talking about the cure for cancer and stuff like that, and she was like, do you know like the possibilities that could happen if, let's say, a certain animal didn't go extinct, if a certain plant didn't go extinct, if a certain human didn't go extinct? We could have the cure for cancer. We could have the cure for many of diseases. But because of all these wars and us killing promising people, promising souls, and taking away also like the medicinal plants and the medicinal animals that could have helped us, we cheat ourselves out of extending like a branch out to ourselves and fully combating this terrible disease.
Well, actually, you're underscoring my point about the oneness of life and creation. See, getting back to your point about extinction, see, maybe one animal's existence because they're the food for another animal, for example. You know, they're interlinked like that. You know, we certain animals only eat insects. So the point I'm making, when you get rid of that, that throws the whole ecology, that throws the whole balance off. There's that connection, but we failed. Now, a lot of people do see it. I think the scientists and many other people have seen it. But then you have these narratives in the world that, you know, global warming is a hoax and different things like that. Well, something is happening. Something is happening with our weather. Something is happening with our heat, our cold, our tornadoes. Something is happening. Something has thrown something off. Not that these are not natural occurrences that can happen and have happened, but if it's happening more, if it's more devastating, I think we need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's a big issue, especially with some of the laws that have been passed recently. Like there was, I forgot exactly what law it was, but it was like a global warming law about like I think it was like regulating how much like gas we like let out. Oh yeah, it was about greenhouse gases.
Okay.
What's called the new administration declared that greenhouse gases weren't a thing.
Yes.
What's called? May I have to fact check myself like that? I'll put it on the screen. But from what I remember, at least, it was basically either doling down how impactful greenhouse gases were, or just saying that greenhouse gases don't exist. So then it's allowing for more oil production, more of all this kind of stuff like that. That's going to possibly affect global warming, and it's going to affect our environment a lot.
Yes. And from a religious standpoint, I'm going to say both Bible and Quran. There's this idea that God created all of this, and he has entrusted it to our stewardship, entrusted it to our charge. We're responsible. We're in charge of all this. God thought enough of us and gave us the potentials and possibilities that he says, I'm going to make you all the crown of my creation. So I'm holding you responsible for polluting the water. I'm holding you responsible for the ozone. I'm holding you responsible for animals going extinct. You all are the ones that I've given the trust to. I'm talking about the human family, male and female. We have the trust. God gave us that. And you find that in the very basic and fundamental actual beginnings of Scripture, when God created Adam. You know, biblical language may use terms like he created Adam and gave him dominion over the air and the fowl and the sea and all of that. I'm not quoting exactly. You may know better, Alexander. But I know the Quran says that he is making a ruler, a caretaker in the earth. This is in the Quran. And you know who God is telling this to in the Quran? The angels. He's telling the angels what he's about to do. So he gave us this trust. And if God gives you something, with his help, of course, you're up to the task. We're qualified. We have the potential. We have the brain power by the permission of God. He created our intelligence, our speech. He created all of that. So I hope that your generation and other generations are getting that message when you go to these schools and you're learning these things, that not just to be fascinated by it, but you have some type of responsibility to care for it. Yeah.
I like how you brought up the new generation and stuff like that. And like although I don't agree with like all the things that the new generation stands for and all that we do, but I do think our strengths are our connectiveness with people and our lookout for the environment and what's around us. I think those are definitely our biggest strengths, because we're always looking to connect with one another and be like, okay, you may be different on this fact, but guess what? I still love and care for you in each and every way, and I will look after you. because like I think my generation is very good at seeing that people are souls. They're not just like numbers, and like what we were talking about earlier about like the military when they bomb a place and it's like, oh, it's just a couple of thousand lives. A lot of them are, like you said, desensitized to it, and they just see it as numbers. They're just like, okay, 1,000. Well, that's not as bad as what we have, but they don't look into the depth of like, oh, but like it's all these people, and like there's a lot of mothers, there's a lot of children, there's a lot of fathers that could live to do great things or just live their lives.
Great point. Great point. And it's interesting how we pick and choose, and I don't want to get you in any trouble, so I'll say this in a generic way. But it's interesting that, say for example, and I think you're going to know what I'm talking about. Think about the Middle East. It's interesting, for example, that a terrorist attack happens that maybe kills 1,400 people. And then there's a great worldly outrage, rightfully so.
Yeah.
If it was 4 people, there should be an outrage. I'm agreeing with that. But then on another side, another society, another group of people have lost tens of thousands of lives, babies, women, and children, and it's not quite given the same emphasis. I have a problem with that. All lives. See, we pick and choose who is worthy and who we value. God doesn't do that with us. We're all his servants. He cares about all of us. He loves all of us. And he revealed in Scripture that you're not to take a life except for just cause. Now, we can explore this if you like, and I'm just going to make this comment and take a breath. Yes, this might be controversial, but under the right circumstances, Muslims do believe in the death penalty under certain circumstances. I know that's controversial, considered inhumane, but in the right circumstances, okay? I'm making that point because God says, do not take a soul, do not take a life except for just cause. So we don't take this lightly. We don't just, oh well, no. So it has to be for just cause is the condition. And also, well, I don't know if I want to get into that too deep because now you start getting into Islamic law and all of that, another controversial issue. But the only point that I'm making is God revealed in Scripture, because he knew us and he knew how we can go to extremes and how we can get things twisted and out of balance. He revealed to us that all life is sacred. Now you might say that's a contradiction. I thought he said that you can't kill anyone except for just cause. You all believe in a death penalty. Now you're talking, but again, everything is contextual. Everything is contextual. You have to study the circumstances, the nuances of what's going on around it. We make snap judgments. We make easy fixes. No, some of these things are complicated. And as you know, 2 things can be true at the same time. So human life is sacred. Period. And then there are times perhaps to get justice for the family. You may have to do something that some people think you shouldn't do under any circumstance. But I'll leave that there because that's, it's not about right or wrong. That's just perspective there. And I'll just leave that there for now.
I do see what you're getting at. Like I completely understand what you're getting at about like how all life is sacred and all that, but that also at times you will have to make a hard choice. You will have to do a hard sacrifice, and sometimes that does end up with things like the death penalty or things that you would otherwise see as not right.
Well, here's another example. Remember we talked about earlier about protecting your family?
Exactly.
So I'm going to hesitate. Now, it's clear. His intentions are clear. He's going to kill me and my whole family or attempt to. So because his life is sacred, I'm not going to take his life to prevent. See, this is where people get a little, you understand? I don't want to take his life. Matter of fact, we were minding our own business. He came and attacked us.
Yeah.
But the tragic part is his life is just as sacred as ours, but I have to, it's nothing wrong with me defending, and unfortunately, he loses his life in the process.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose sleep over that if my 9-year-old and 8-year-old child gets to live because of my actions. You see where it can be just in a sense?
Yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir. I'll leave that alone.
I agree with that
Yeah.
there. I mean, like, what's it called? I'm a big advocate of, like, if someone is trying to hurt my family, I'm not just going to sit there and let it happen. And I talked about it in a previous video. Actually, my second video. My first video was like an introduction telling what like the channel is going to be about. But before interviewing the guests like you, I first had to sit myself down and tell myself, well, like, be honest with myself and talk about issues like that. And the question that this like brought up, I will be asking to you. I tend to ask it to everybody that I can. What's it called? The question is, what keeps you up at night? And for me, it was my little brothers and sister. What's it called? When I was younger, when they were just toddlers, me and my sister that is my age, what's it called? We grew up in a.
You have a twin?
No.
Or just close in age?
Stepsister.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir.
It's like a 5-month difference, but we've gone through so much together that we just consider each other like blood brother and sister.
Sure.
What's it called? And it was my dad and her mom. They would get in fights with each other, and it would get very abusive, very shouty. And so me and my sister, we would take our little siblings, if they were there, and put them in her bedroom, and we would sit there and like put on like a movie or show, distract them. When the littles weren't there, and it was just me and her, we would go to my room and we'd play Monopoly. But one night it had gotten so bad, and the littles were there, that we went to her room, and I was afraid that they were going to come in and hurt us because my dad had been known to leave bruises on my stepmother's. So much so that I had grabbed a revolver out of my dresser, and I went into my sibling's bedroom, and like let's say over here's the door, and this is all the bed. I had them sit there while I had it just on my lap, just facing the door.
Wow.
Because like you said, I wasn't gonna let my family get hurt, and like in that instance, like I know it's wrong to see it this way, but in that instance, that wasn't my father. Like that wasn't the one I grew up loving, the one I grew up like admiring, looking up to. That was somebody coming to hurt my family, which was the three behind me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that you even had to be in that position. I mean, to even get in that headspace, that the one that helped give me life, I might have to take him out, you know. That's traumatic on so many levels. And you're an intelligent man. I hope if there was any work you needed to do, that you did the work, because it tends to go generational, if you understand what I'm saying. It's a strange phenomenon, the way our psyche works, that if we're the subject of abuse, even though we hate it and we know it's wrong, somehow we become the abuser. Exactly. And so we need work. We need to help ourselves on that.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, and then if you want to get to what keeps me up at night.
Sounds good.
You were talking about your generation, which you know I shared with you in the class, that I see you all similar to the way you see yourself. So my question to you, with your peers, and it's okay, be honest, do you have a lot of bigotry and hatred and racism and prejudice among your group? Are you all using racial slurs? And I'm not saying, of course somebody is, but I mean, tell me about your age group and your culture, because you said that we're more accepting. I was listening to what you're saying, and I believe that too, but you're with your peers. What are you experiencing, Alexander? Tell me about your generation.
Good question, actually. What's it called? I have witnessed a lot of like different perspectives. I tend to hang out, of course, more with the more like accepting, more cultural side, because like I go out of my way to like understand like different cultures and stuff like that. So I'll go there and I get to see the more like accepting side, where people are more willing to like be nice to their neighbor and stuff like that. But I have witnessed a lot of scary stuff. For instance, there's a lot of people that like cuss like a sailor. I'd be a liar if I said that I wasn't one of them. But there's a lot of people I know that say a lot of slurs and stuff like that, and some say the N word calmly as day, and we all kind of just look at them like, okay, sure. And what's it called there's I mentioned earlier that like I don't agree with a lot of my generation's things, but I do agree with some. There's this weird mentality, at least in high schools at the moment, and like I know for sure when I was in middle school there was a lot of them. There's people that idolize like gang activity, like the hood and stuff like that. Like for instance, when I said that people say the N-word a lot, they tend to like idolize hood activity and like gang activity, like for instance RAPE, and also just like abuse and like ganging up on somebody. Like for instance, there was this kid, he was bisexual in middle school. He was like a grade or two below us, but he was getting bullied on by this like gang of people. And so me and my friends, we had to step in because he was like kind of like adjacent to our group, and so like we had to step in and like stop them, and it literally almost led out to like a full-on fight like at the school, and the principal had to break it up.
Okay.
But like instances like that make me like believe a little less in my generation. Also, there's a lot of it's hard to see that like all good. What's it called? I've also noticed that some of them are not very hardworking. There's a lot of people that wait to be given things, and
in your age group. Okay.
And a lot of people expect things to come to them. I've witnessed many people that like have like 20 maids and like butlers and chauffeurs, and I'm exaggerating of course, but like they have maids, butlers, chauffeurs, and I'm just like I didn't grow up with any of that, so that's foreign to me. But then also just to see them, like something that I've noticed is that some people flaunt their wealth, some people don't care to talk about it. And I've noticed that there's a lot of people that will flaunt their wealth. They'll be like, oh, I have this big house. Oh, we have this kind of car. We have this. And
we got 20 maids. No, I'm just kidding.
For real. and like, it takes me to hold myself back to be like, no, you don't own that. Your parents own that.
Right.
Your parents bought that car. Your parents bought that house. Your parents are paying for your 20 maids. You're not paying for any of it. You just grew up within wealth. You were lucky to be given that, and you're taking it for granted. There was this like when I watch YouTube, there's like these like podcasts that come on sometimes. There was this guy. He was asked the question, what will your kids drive? And he went in depth about it, and he was like, well, I drive this car. My kids are going to drive this car, and it was like a step up, and then basically like let's say like he said that he was going to drive a Ford, like decent car, like whatever, and then it was going to be like another step up, and then like, oh, his son's going to drive a Ferrari, but then his son after that is going to drive a Kia Soul. Like it was basically to like explain that tough times make tough men. What's called tough men make soft times. Soft times make soft men, and it's slightly like toxic masculinity, sadly. And so like I don't like fully agree with it, but I do see the point of that. When you have it hard, you want to break the cycle. You want to break out of it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
And again, thank you for what you just shared with me. So then what I learned in your comments is that certain attitudes, values, and behaviors are being intentionally passed down. And naturally, if you grow up in that environment, that's normal to you, and that way of thinking and being is normal to you, and especially if you feel privileged on some level or entitled on some level, then you'll look down on people. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that lets me know we still have work to do, and that just like they have their platforms, we have to have our platforms as a alternative or a counter, in a sense, because I believe, Alexander, in the basic decency of the human being, and that there's something innate that if we're given the chance, we'll choose right over wrong, or that we gravitate more towards compassion or decency. That's what I would like to believe about the human being. But if you've never had that, it's just natural for us to mimic the behavior of our parents. So if they talk to people a certain way, if they insult them, if they're condescending, that tends to be how we interact with people, sarcasm and things like that. But I appreciate you entertaining that question, because it's real. You know, though I still choose to remain encouraged about your generation and those above you and that are coming behind you, because I think there are some sensitivities that you all have that maybe your parents don't have or grandparents don't have towards the human family. And the example I'll use is we talked about this too, the recent high school boycotts, the recent high school protests and march. This happened a month ago, month and a half ago, when the treatment of the Palestinians on college campuses and different places, all the young people standing up and saying this is genocide and this is wrong. I'm not talking about, nor am I praising in any way any anti-Semitic rhetoric. Okay, it's not about that. You don't put down one people to build up another people.
Exactly.
All of us should have dignity. All of us should have respect. All of our lives matter. This would be a whole nother conversation. I won't entertain it, but I'm going to drop it. There's also too broad of a definition, in my opinion, of what it means to be anti-Semitic or anyone else. Anti-Semitic, in my view, does not mean that you can't be criticized or that what you're doing can't be, talked about. You're not automatically right because you're Jewish and you're doing it. See, but this is the conversation. You can't say nothing bad against our Jewish brothers or nothing bad against Israel or what they're doing, or you're anti-Semitic. No, right and wrong don't have a race, don't have a culture, don't have a religion. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And if I'm wrong, Alexander, tell me I'm wrong. Critique me, criticize me, give me some pushback. If I'm wrong, I need you to do that. I need you to check me. That don't mean you don't like black people. That don't mean you don't like Muslims. That means you're standing on what's fair, just, and right. And I think that conversation needs to happen more, because we make everything black and white. It's not black and white. There's nuances to this thing. And I'll stop right there.
I think that is really big and really important that you did bring that up, though, because I think, again, my generation has a good amount of upsides where we do good at, but a lot of our sensitivity comes at an advantage and disadvantage. It comes at an advantage because we care for the souls and we care for everybody, but then it does come at a disadvantage because then you care so much without truly understanding what it means to be that kind of person or be those kinds of people. And
I see.
And like you said, just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I hate African Americans, doesn't mean I hate Muslims.
Right.
It just means that maybe we see a different point in it. And a lot of people are quick to jump with if someone's arguing with somebody else that, oh, it's clearly because they're this race, they're this religion, they're this gender, sexual orientation, anything like that. And it's no, we can just have a disagreement on something.
Good point. And what is so unfortunate in our recent climate, environment, and politics, we have made those that disagree with us our enemies. And that is not automatic. That is not automatic. Matter of fact, when you think of great leaders in our history, whether it be military, social, political, education, they welcomed differences of opinions because that made them better. That gave them broader perspectives. But this current climate, if you're not on this boat, you're wrong. We're right. And I hate to, I'm just going to say it point blank what it is. I hate what the Democrats and the Republicans are doing today, where you just put everybody in one basket, all Republicans this, all Democrats that.
Exactly.
I hate that because that's not true. And I hate the fact that you want to demonize one and make everything they're about is wrong, and everything I'm about is right. I'm saying the same thing a different way. We always had our challenges. You know, we differ, we debate, but we look for common ground. And, you know, a case in point, the word is on the street now. You've probably seen all the long lines at the airports and all the things that's happening with the TSA workers and the partial shutdown and all of that. Well, the Republicans are blaming the Democrats. But then the truth came out that even the Republicans came up with a compromise package that our president didn't like. So he said, until you put this in there, we're not budging at all.
Interesting.
In the meantime, the American people are in airport lines for 9 hours. You got planes running into fire trucks. I don't know if you heard about that.
I saw that.
You understand? It's threatening our safety for travel, security, and for communication. But you're holding on to this idea that put this in the bill and I'll sign it. And it doesn't matter how many people suffer. Doesn't matter if a few people die. I'm going to get my way. I have a problem with that thinking because now you're not serving me. It's not about the people. It's not about what's in the people's best interest, what's good for the people. It's about you getting this win, in my opinion, and God knows best.
Exactly. I agree with that because I've noticed a lot more and more that a lot of like the government and I will say this is another benefit to my generation is that a lot of us are skeptic of the government. Now it doesn't mean that we all hate the government. It just means that like maybe we're not like, oh yeah, let me follow it with all my heart and let me like just dive in blindly to everything. We look at it and we're like, wait, why are we having to suffer because you want this one specific thing that maybe benefits us, maybe doesn't. Most likely, most of the time, it really doesn't benefit us to a high extent to where, like you said, the plane crashed in the fire truck. Now we have 2 dead pilots and tons of injured passengers, and then a flight attendant that was ejected from the plane. Like it's not worth that. Like all this pettiness between like the different I'm just gonna say like factions in a sense.
Yeah.
It's not worth the lives that it costs. And also like I like how you mentioned that like neither side is like innately always correct, and like it and how we've divided ourselves, whether it, like let's say like I'm Republican, you're Democratic. I'm like, oh no, get away from me. You're a liberal. You're all this. You're that.
Yeah.
And I think for me it kind of goes down to the saying of it takes a village to raise a kid, and divided like this, we're not raising a good society. If society, if community is our kid, it's being in a broken home. It's because there's so much hate in that house. There's so much animosity towards one another that kid, aka society, is kind of broken. It's kind of confused. It doesn't know what's going on.
No, that's good insight. I'm 67 years old. Yes, I belong to a political party, and probably like whoever belongs to a political party, you believe that their values and ideas and political view lines up better with yours.
Yep.
I'm saying that to say I've been voting a long time, and regardless of my political party, I have voted both Democrat and Republican because I look at each individual and I look at their platform, and like we try to believe what they say. We know none of them deliver 100%, but I'm making a point. Don't make the label more important than our nation, than what's good for its citizens and its people. So I have voted both, regardless of my party. I vote my party, but I vote outside of my party if I think that they are more in line with what I'm all about. You get what I'm saying? And one last point, and we can shift if you like or stay here. You're the moderator. Another thing that's interesting that somebody has to kind of just think about a moment. When our political leaders make certain decisions, for example, that shut our government down, whether it's partial or full, the interesting part is those that made that decision and made those policies are not impacted negatively at all. Their paychecks don't stop. Nobody else is getting paid. This department, that, and I know last time they at least let our seniors keep getting their Social Security checks and whatnot. But my point is, how does that resonate with me as a citizen when I'm the one that always has to make the sacrifices for these lofty ideals and you all remain comfortable the whole time? Are you really of me? Are you me? Are we the same? Are you my representative when I'm the one that pays the price and you remain comfortable? Something's wrong with that picture, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before we like add to the other topics, what's it called? I do want to bring that up because that is a very valid point that I don't think gets talked about enough. Is that like we pay the taxes. We're the ones that get affected whenever a draft comes for war. We get affected by like all these different things. Like you said, that their paychecks don't get cut. And that reminds me of this president of this nation. I forgot which one it is exactly. It's either in South America.
You all can Google it.
Yep. I will put on screen which president it is. But it is this president of like either a Central American or a South American nation. I want to say Argentina. I could be very wrong. I remember the flag having blue in it. It could be Nicaragua.
Yes,
but
sir.
I could be very wrong. There was this president that he was kind of known as like the people's president in a sense, because he lived in a shack, drove a tiny like car, didn't wear like fancy like elegant things, like just wore casual clothing, and he took minimal like income, like he took enough for him to just live off of like a plot of land that he had.
Okay.
And like nothing like big, nothing extravagant, not like hundreds of thousands a year. And instead he focused on like helping the people and all that. And it was like a poorer nation. It wasn't like a high thriving nation, but just the emphasis that you could see that your leader was taking pay cuts. He was investing in your communities, and eventually he got cancer, and what's called his own people tried to help him, like tried to encourage him to get treatment for the cancer, and he basically said no, that he's not going to do it because he doesn't want to spend all the money on that it would take, that would go out of government funding and stuff.
Okay.
And I think it's really powerful and impactful whenever your own people who aren't living in the best situations, they're not like, it's not a first world country, but which makes me think it probably wasn't Argentina, but what's called, they're willing to be like, hey, focus on yourself. Like get your treatment for cancer. And even still, then he said no and was wanting to look after his own people instead.
I love that.
Exactly.
I love that, and that to me is servant leadership. That's what, and he's connecting with it. I'm not different than you. I am you.
Exactly.
And when we have the phrase, right, of the people, for the people, by the people. That sounds good. It's good on paper, but to me, this president modeled that. And as you go to your next point, I have to tell your audience this, Alexander. You just described part of the wonderful character of Muhammad the Prophet, upon him be peace. He's the prophet of Almighty God, and the people want to heap all this stuff upon him because he's the messenger, he's the prophet. He wouldn't receive it. He had patches in his clothes. He swept his own he was that type. When you're talking about this president, I got to think about my prophet, Muhammad upon him, because he was that kind of. He took care of the hungry, the orphans. He would when he got charity and gifts every night. It was all gone by the time he went to bed.
That's awesome.
And there's even a report that one time he hadn't given away all the wealth. And I'm not saying everybody has to give away everything, but there's the principle that you're talking about. For some reason, he was restless this night. He couldn't sleep well. And his wife said to him, "What's wrong, O messenger of God?" I'm restless. I'm not quoting, but the idea is he couldn't rest because some of the wealth or treasure was still in his home. And then when he found it, that's what was bothering his spirit. Once he gave that away, he slept so sound the rest of the night. Isn't that
awesome.
a beautiful humanity? That's a beautiful humanity.
That is so beautiful. That actually reminds me of Pope Francis. Whenever I'm not Catholic by any means, so I could be misjudging on this one. But I saw a bunch of things where he went out like during natural disasters and stuff like that to help people. And he even washed the feet of AIDS patients.
Yes.
He did a bunch of things. He let like homeless people come in and have dinner and lunch with him, to like house them and make sure that they had food.
Beautiful.
Like things like that like really impacted me of what it means to be a true leader.
Because he's following his example. Jesus upon him be peace, right? And what would Jesus do? Well, that's what he would do. And he's trying to be a good follower of Jesus upon him be peace.
Yeah. I think that was so huge for me. What's it called? Going back on religion, have you faced discrimination because of your religion?
Yes. I kind of grew up in a time, I said this another time publicly, because racism is not fully gone in the world. Sometimes as an African-American Muslim, I have a double whammy.
Yeah.
I'm African-American and I'm Muslim. For those that are of that mindset, narrow-minded, bigoted, racist, ignorant, I've had to deal with that. But what has happened, it has not impacted me in the way that it might impact others.
Okay.
Because of the confidence that I have in myself, only because of God. And I'm not saying this as some Superman. What I'm saying is my understanding of who I am as a human being, who my people are as a race and an ethnicity, and who my God is, and what Islam teaches about these things, helped me navigate and not get so bent out of shape when I saw this coming at me. I saw it for 25 years. I did ministry in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, the prison system.
Oh, okay.
I retired as a chaplain, 25 plus years. And of course, the religious environment is TDCJ, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, is Christianity is the dominant religious environment, but to Texas Department of Criminal Justice, from here on out, I'll just say TDCJ.
Okay.
To their credit, they had very inclusive policies for all faiths.
I love that.
And they wanted to make sure that what we did for one, we have to do for all. We have to be fair, firm, and consistent. Again, that was their policy, but does that mean everybody adhered to it? Does that mean that they bought in and implemented it? And I'm only bringing this up, again, to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice credit. They worked hard to bring equality among the faiths, inclusions among the faith. So we applaud them, we commend them for that. Unfortunately, some of the chaplains didn't give non-Christian faiths some of the same emphasis and etc. So I don't want to speak, I'm speaking in the context of Islam. So part of my job was to make sure that Islamic policies were being implemented. So when I saw discrimination, when I saw injustices, I would have to speak up for the Muslim community and work against that to bring it about. And we had obstacles. We had obstacles among guards, obstacles among wardens, because people are human and they have their own prejudices. I repeat, that wasn't the policy of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, but who implements the policy? You leave it to people. Just like you have officers out here. Most of the officers are great, they're good, but you got those few.
There are those few.
They know what's right, but they choose not to do what's right. So I'm answering your question about my experience of discrimination because of race, religion, etc. You know, I'll say this and stop. It was very hostile in the prison environment after September 11th, 2001.
Oh yeah, that must have been like a really bad one.
Yeah, because you got like 8,000 Muslims in Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and now Muslims have blown up the World Trade Center and a plane in Pennsylvania, the Pentagon. So those that have that mindset immediately start retaliating against Muslims. Now they're going to do it in such a way not to cross the line, but you know, do enough to make it miserable and stay within policy. I'm sharing this with you because that again, this is not the agency's policy. This is not chaplaincy's policy, but this is what certain individuals chose to do. Just like if they do a Hispanic slur, some kind of ethnic slur for our Hispanic brothers, you had that going on. You had, you know, inmates being called the N-word. Again, this is not the policy, these are people. And if they don't get caught, they get away with it. So again, Shakir, why are you bringing this up? I'm emphasizing the problem we have among people and the unfortunate possibilities in people to be less than honorable and to systematically discriminate and hurt people. For example, when the Muslims would come out for their services, they would say, okay, here come Osama's boys.
Oh.
That was intended to hurt them. And then there was a phrase in the nation, not TDCJ, but in the nation, calling the Muslims sand niggers. They're the new niggers for them. That kind of stuff going on. And if you have to edit that, you edit it. But I'm just being transparent. And again, my main emphasis for sharing this is the disparity between what's on paper, what we say we stand for, and what is actually being applied and happening day to day in our lives. And you can look at this in so many arenas.
That's crazy. And they were saying all that stuff to get like under your skin and to like that's crazy that they could like try to manipulate and work around the system to still get after you and still like try to affect y'all and hurt y'all. I feel like there definitely should have been something in the way to stop that, but
Well, I
really,
mean,
it's hard.
again, I hope you heard me. It's not the agency. It's not TDCJ. It's not the agent. It's not their policies. It's not chaplaincy. It's not their policy. I already told you their policies were about equality and inclusion and mutual respect for all the faiths.
Yeah.
But that has to be implemented by the people. So the other good news, I would say, that not all chaplains of the Christian faith were against Muslims. Some of them were so helpful to Muslims that their Christian counterparts accused them of helping the Muslims more than they helped the Christians. So we have had wardens, we have had majors, we have had captains, security officers that will do the right thing. It's not just about looking out for us, it's about doing what's right by all the inmates, giving them all the right. We had many staff members from the warden on down, everywhere, that did the right thing. But you know, you only need a few to mess things up and make it miserable.
That's something that I kind of dislike about media now, is that like there's a certain like disdain towards like groups of people, like cops, for instance, just because there is a handful that are bad, they're corrupt, and they will do things to ruffle your feathers, get underneath you, or like basically like bully you through the system. And the media portrays them, can show that aspect, but doesn't show the good cop, doesn't show the cop that like helps you find your kid along the way.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of created this like hate for certain groups of people through just narrowly focusing on a certain like aspect of people, instead of and like you said with 9/11, when that happened, a lot of society, especially America, was focusing on the group of Muslims that wanted to hurt America, and not just taking a step back and being like, hey, that's a small group right there. It doesn't reflect what the other 99% of the Muslim community stands for.
Think about it. With 2 billion Muslims in the world, if we were all crazy and deranged and extremists and fanatics, I think it'd be a wrap by now.
Yeah.
If this few is wreaking the havoc that it's wreaking, could you imagine if most of us were like that? So that's, to your point, you're right.
Yeah.
It's very small. It's very small. So yeah, it's just one of those things that people are opportunists, and they wait for an opportunity, especially if you're in power, to take a situation, manipulate it, and exploit it, and make it to speak to your point or make your point. Another way to say it, Alexander, is this: the people will use that negative situation, and they will market it in such a way, because most people don't think for themselves, they don't study or research for themselves. Whoever's the most articulate, whoever's the most charismatic, they appeal to their emotions. So it bypasses, emotions bypass the intelligent thought process. That's why they keep us in our feelings and in emotions, because when I'm emotional and I'm angry and I'm charged up, I do things without thinking. And then it's too late. If you will appeal to my knowledge, my education, my thinking, and let me take a pause and say, wait a minute, before I react to this, let me look at this. Let me see another side to this, perhaps. But that's really the better approach, in my opinion. But those that want to take advantage of that and promote their prejudice and racism and hatred in the world, they don't want that. So they bombard you with things that keep you angry, emotional, and not thinking.
Yeah, I think that's really important that you mentioned like the manipulation of your feelings and stuff like that, because ultimately when you are like fueled up with hatred, you're angry, you're not thinking for yourself, and then that makes you easier to manipulate, easier to like, and it's been seen in history. Like this is a very extreme example, but with Hitler, he ramped up the Nazis and was like, hey, the Jewish, they're bad, they're this, they did this to hurt all of you, they did this intentionally to hurt all of you, and then so that it makes you angry, it makes you mad, and it makes you go like, hey, why are they doing this against me? And then he starts a war so quickly that you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm still mad. It doesn't give you time to calm down and think for yourself, wait, they didn't do this, I caused this on myself, or like you caused this on me, or like it doesn't give you time to actually analyze the situation, like you're saying.
Yeah. Don't forget the other piece that we already touched on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just that they're the cause of this. Mm-hmm. What helps people look the other way mm-hmm. is because I have created a narrative mm-hmm. that these people are less than human. Don't forget, part of Hitler's thing is we're the superior race. That was part, we're the superior race. So these people, they're expendable. These people, we can kill them wholesale or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's what always happens. They did it with us through slavery.
Yeah, but I would say
they've done it with Jews in other contexts. Mm-hmm. They've done it sometimes even with the Irish and others. Native Americans, whenever they want to set up a situation that people will not be outraged at what they do to other human beings that we should be outraged about, mm-hmm. they demonize, they marginalize, they dehumanize them. And then somewhere in our mind, oh, that's okay. I guess that's no different than shooting a raccoon or a deer or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of those like movies where it's like, without the villain's context, the story villainizes a character, and what's it called? Like it makes them the villain, makes you hate them. But then maybe there's like a prequel or like another movie that's made where it shows the villain's backstory, and then you're like, wait, I actually relate with this person. I'm understanding why they turned down this road. And
you're rooting for the villain.
Exactly. and then you realize, oh, the so-and-so good guy was ultimately the bad guy in this situation.
Exactly.
It's like that, like you were saying, that how they change your mind and they make someone below them to put themselves higher to justify why they're taking out the lower.
Excellent point.
I think that's actually like a really good point that you made. I'm glad you said that. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you earlier, or finish the thought. What keeps you up at night? What sticks with you?
I guess I would just have to. Maybe the best way to answer that is what might keep me up at night right now. Mm-hmm. Because yes, over time, there's all kind of things that keep me up at night. But again, I'm very concerned, regardless of the personality. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking now to ideas, values, what this country is founded upon, the idea of inclusion, the idea of freedom of speech, the idea of all of these things that people migrated mm-hmm. from other lands for the American dream, for better opportunities, for dignity, mm-hmm. And that's what keeps me up at night now, because I've come to a realization that a lot of us are blinded to how our Constitution, and again, somebody else might have a different view, but I think there's enough evidence that's apparent for everyone, regardless to who you voted for, mm-hmm. just to know that there's some things happening today that have never happened like this before, mm-hmm. that are in direct violation of First Amendment, Second Amendment, well, not Second Amendment, but the various amendments and the bylaws of the Constitution, the preamble to the Constitution, Declaration. Mm-hmm. There's so much that we're seeing today, even where our president bypasses Congress to implement things that this nation says Congress has to weigh in on. So these are the things that keep me up at night, because I'm concerned that the American people are either so distracted, or that they're working so hard to survive that they're not able to really pay attention to what's happening to our nation and what's happening to us. And we may look up and it's too late. You know, that's, I hope that you kind of understand what I'm saying. I'm concerned about a group of leaders that rubber stamp everything, a group of leaders that can't say no when certain things are clearly not right. I have to commend a couple people that have resigned recently because they just said, this ain't right. I can't do this anymore, that kind of thing. But it's not enough. It's not enough. So simply put, Alexander, I'm concerned about, has the wall been pulled over the American people's eyes, and we can't see that we're losing our rights, that we're losing and actually moving away from our values and what this nation stands upon and what we believe in as a nation. Freedom for all, equality for all, justice for all, you know, rights, different rights that we should have. So I'm concerned, you know, where you're going to make a statement that the nursing profession is not a real profession.
Oh, dude, that made me so mad.
What are we talking? This kind of stuff is crazy, Alexander.
It drives me insane.
If you've ever had a nurse take care of you, you know that they're the real deal.
I'm literally a nursing major. Funny enough.
Okay.
And literally, I'm going to 4 years of school for undergraduate. After that, I got to do 5 years of residency experience as a nurse. So then I can do postgraduate. So I can do anesthesia program.
Wow.
So then that's already like 12, 13 years. I mean, 5 of which are out of college, but still, I'm still working as a nurse to get a higher degree.
But that's not a thing. That's not real.
Not a profession anymore.
So I you know, did you understand what the points I was trying to make? Because it seems like no matter what wrong is done, and I know it can be relative, but I think there are some truths, there are some rights and wrongs. No matter what wrongs are done, certain people keep getting away with it. There's no pushback, and we're just told to suck it up, take it, or we're told that you don't understand, things are better than you think they are. We've done this, we've done that. Well, how come I can't feel it? How come not just the gas, but how come my groceries, how come, just so many things. How come I'm still having medical bill issues? I can't get ahead, but you tell me things are better. I don't see it.
Yeah, but what's it called? I think part of it, like the first part you talked about was definitely tying back to like what we're talking about like the leaders in our society. That what makes a true leader is that the one that looks after its people, and one that doesn't say, "Oh, I'm above you." It says, "I'm in line with you, and this is what we can do to help y'all bring each other up." And that's not what our government's doing right now, and it hasn't been what we're doing for the past few while. And what's it called? I'm glad you mentioned about the prices and the healthcare and saying that nurses aren't professionals, because it's a bunch of dumb stuff that it's like, first of all, there's a bunch of other countries that have healthcare, and I did a foreign exchange in France in high school. It wasn't like a long one. It was like a 15-day program, but
15 days.
15 days is more experience in France than I would have had otherwise. What's it called? But it was through my city where I'm from, and in that program we stay with a French family, and and they like talked to me about all this kind of stuff like that. His dad was a dentist, so I was asking about that kind of stuff because I was going to the medical field, and then we got into the topic of healthcare, because in France healthcare is free.
Yes.
Because you pay for it with your taxes, and like he was explaining to me, like, yes, anybody can get free healthcare. Like, you could get free healthcare if you get injured. The homeless man can get free healthcare if he's injured. I can get free healthcare if I'm injured. And like he said it so matter of factly that made me realize it's not even a second thought for them to look after the injured, look after the sick.
Yes, sir.
Meanwhile, for us, we're so focused on, oh, I don't want to pay this extra $2 or this extra like 50 cents. That'll go to helping just free healthcare for people, and that helps the sick, helps the old, helps the young that otherwise may not survive. And
Yeah.
going into the nursing field, I wanted to watch more nursing documentaries. I wanted to watch more shows that tailor towards medical professionals. There's one called The Pit. I don't know if you've seen or heard of it, but
What's it called?
The Pit.
PIT. Okay.
PITT. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically like an ER hospital.
Okay. I like those kind of shows.
And this one prides itself on being like heavily accurate, like down to like they literally designed a layout for a whole entire hospital to replicate what it would look like and stuff. And what's it called? One of the newer episodes of the second season, there spoiler warning. There's there's a family that the dad suffers an injury in his arm. Actually, his glucose deteriorates, gets lower, so then he basically like faints on the work site. He works construction, gets injured, goes to the hospital. Like 3 days would have cost him over $100,000. A lot of people don't have that kind of money saved up. And
Most people
don't. Like I would say 90% of people don't.
go a little higher.
Yeah.
They call it the 1%,
Yeah.
and 2% for a reason.
Exactly. 99% don't have that. And what's it called? And it kind of the episode kind of delved into that. There's a lot of people that are too rich to have these like healthcare benefits given to them, but they're too poor to have enough money to actually pay for it.
Yeah.
Or to be able to afford healthcare.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of people that slip through that crack. And situations like that, it makes me think like, well, we could have a society where we prioritize healthcare so that everyone can get treatment, no matter of what they like, what kind of income they're making, what they look like, what they identify as, anything like that.
Make it a right. Yeah, make it a right. But two things. Number one, the mindset of us as Americans is how can I benefit financially off of this situation? So you have your insurance companies, you have your pharmaceuticals, you have all these. Now they would still get paid because they have to get paid.
Exactly.
But you know, and also in some countries, education is free from kindergarten to the university level. Okay, so that's one thing. It's how our mind. We're always looking. Look at anything, whether it's that fan or those beads or this microphone. How do we get paid? How can I make money off of this? This is the mindset. So those people that are making all this money off of healthcare, they're going to hold on to that.
Yeah.
And even doctors, they can make more money in the free market system, so to speak, than whatever the government would cap. Yeah, we know you're a neurosurgeon, but this is going to be your salary. As opposed to in the free enterprise system, I could triple what you would pay me under the socialist system, that type of thing. So that's one of the things that is in line with what you're saying. In line with keeping me up at night. aligned with keeping me up at night is the narrative. Alexander, the lies that have been told, it's proven that they're lies. We don't apologize for it. We actually double down on it. So we create narratives that people accept just because so-and-so said it. But we've already showed you that's not even true. Or you've seen it. You can take several clips side by side of certain public statements, and they're 180 degrees different. They contradict themselves, but we never talk about that.
Exactly.
So which one is true? And that's what keeps me up at night, because what are we going to do about this? And we reward this garbage, in my opinion, by re-electing people and putting them back in office.
Yeah.
We used to be about integrity, honesty, morality, decency, uprightness. But now, the more corrupt or belligerent you are, the more you're rewarded. I can tell you, oh, you're a terrible person. Oh, get out of here. You can't even come in here. I'm not answering that question. You're terrible. Or even call worse names. Make fun of people, their disabilities and things. From the highest office, I had a different vision of our office.
Yeah.
That it had more dignity, class than that. You get it.
There was a certain video that like circulated around like election time and stuff like that, and it resonated with the younger generation, because also we didn't get to experience this kind of thing. We just grown up with what I'll say. It was a video of, I think it was Kennedy versus somebody else whenever they were running.
You're about President Kennedy?
President Kennedy.
So we're back in the 60s.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was during that time, and during the election going on, the two opposing parties, Republican and Democratic, were complimenting each other. They, like, if it was you versus me, like, one of them would say, I like, both me and Imam, Omar and Shakir here, we are arguing for the same thing. We want the same thing, but we just want to combat it a different way. We're going at a different angle. And they argued with that. And then it cut to nowadays elections. That it's all, oh, you're stupid, you're old, you don't know what you're saying anymore, you're going crazy, like all this kind of stuff. It's mudslinging at each other.
I love what you just said. That is an excellent, thank you for saying that. Because again, that's where your party or philosophical differences are. But the end result, hopefully, of both initiatives is a benefit to the American people.
Exactly.
Versus, I'm right, you're wrong. The goal is to benefit, not special interests, not the billionaires, et cetera, et cetera. But what I like the way you said it. Omar and I want the same thing. Alexander and I want the same thing. But this is the way I think is best to get there. And then I explain my position. And then the people listening, they say, they're in agreement. We do need what Alexander and Omar is talking about. That's firstly. But they might say, you know, I support Alexander's approach to that initiative and realizing that. But at the end of the day, they don't hate Omar.
Exactly.
They just support your way of doing it.
Exactly.
Because we're one nation, right? The United States of America. That's not what I see today. We are one nation. And everything we should do should be for all of its citizens. And that's another thing you saw. When certain administrations get into office, they don't even hide the fact that if your state is a different political party than mine, and your policy, I'm not sending you no aid, I'm not doing it. Wait a minute, I thought Utah was a part of the United States. I thought Montana was the United States. What do you mean? I thought you said you were everybody's president. What are you saying?
Yeah, and that goes back to like the hate speech and stuff like that, and like if you don't agree with how I'm doing, well then, bye, be gone, and it goes back to like, no, we are one. We are like literally in our name of our country is united. We're supposed to be united together, not like yes, sure we may disagree on some things, but just because I don't share the same beliefs as you doesn't mean that like you didn't offer to give me a water whenever I first came here. Like even though maybe we don't agree on everything, doesn't mean that you don't treat me hospitably. And if you came over to mine, that I wouldn't treat you hospitably.
With respect.
Exactly.
How do you now listen to some of the rhetoric that has been derogatory and directed at Puerto Rico? A dialogue, a narrative, almost like Puerto Rico is a hostile nation, or Puerto Rico is an enemy. Guess what? Puerto Rico is part of the United States of America. Isn't that weird? But if you just listen to the rhetoric, who they talking about? Russia? Who they? They talking about Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
How come that's okay, Alexander? How come you can talk this way about fellow citizens? And by the way, every one of these states that you might be hostile towards, you have supporters in every one of those states.
Exactly. And then so you cutting off that state, you're cutting off people that could be supporting you.
That you promised you would help.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we can go on and on about that. The reason why they came in is because we're going to have a prayer here in about maybe 30 minutes. So we got a little more time if you want to kind of hit a few things. Like you said, I guess the time does go quicker than we think. But please,
I told you, time goes by quick.
But I had no idea where we were going with this. But I appreciate this. And let me just say now, Alexander, I am so impressed with you. I commend you for your age group, for you to even care about the things we're talking about, and for you to develop a platform to have this conversation and dialogue among different faiths and different political, all of that. That speaks to you, and you are a great interviewer, in my opinion. And again,
thank you so much.
I just want to thank you for taking this on, because this is valuable, and I think it's going to benefit whoever hears it. They're not going to agree with everything, and that's not the point. There's some knowledge and information being shared here today that is patriotic, that is pro-human, one human family, one nation, that I think people that believe and feel and have the same values that we have will appreciate what we're doing here today. So kudos to you. I push you up, Alexander.
Thank you so much. What's called? I thank you for mentioning that. And what's called? Part of me making this channel was because I wanted an excuse to go out and meet people, sit down and have deep conversations with people and understand what makes our society different and like how we are the same ultimately. And what's it called? Part of it came from, like, funny that you mentioned Puerto Rico, the concert that happened at the Super Bowl, and all that stuff that happened, and it opened my eyes as someone that is Hispanic, that and partially Latino, that I wanted to understand it, like, more about the culture that I've missed out on, like experiencing, and it was sad to me because. So I'm like half and half. My mom's white, my dad's Hispanic, Mexican.
Okay.
And my dad was the one that was like posting on Facebook saying hateful stuff about the Super Bowl performance, saying hateful stuff about like Bad Bunny, the artist, and he's like pro ICE, pro like everything that Trump does. And it kind of just made me like take a step back and was like, wait, there's so much hate in America right now that we aren't focus on seeing eye to eye, looking at each other, and having a conversation with Bishop Trevor Alexander. What's it called? It made me look at maybe I can do my part, and it doesn't matter if it's just my friends that see or maybe some other people from like that are just scrolling on YouTube and find my videos. What's it called? Maybe they'll watch it and they can understand the culture that's not theirs and see where they connect with that.
See, again, you are making a point we made earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we need ICE and we need various things,
Mm-hmm.
everything that they do is not acceptable and not proper.
Exactly.
See, it's like we want to give everybody a blank check.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to ICE because they're ICE.
Mm-hmm.
The problems I have with ICE is the way they're going about their role and job. So see, again, I can't criticize ICE. I got to be all in, or I got to be for or against.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have created in this nation. Mm-hmm. And I think your father's a better person than that. I think he's smarter than that.
I really hope so.
There has to be some things, you know, and I'll be the first to tell you, everything Trump's done is not bad.
It's
okay. He's done some things I agree with, and I'm man enough to say that and to applaud him where it needs to be applauded. But yeah, you know, just yes, we do have a need for ICE. We do have a need to secure the border. We do have a need to do these things, but how we're doing it matters. That's the point I'm making.
Exactly.
And why are 70% of Americans feeling the brunt of ICE when ICE is supposed to be for the illegal immigration and things like that? The American citizens are not supposed to get shot and feel certain ways. I'm an American.
Exactly.
I should not be affected by this negatively. But I feel like you coming after me. So it's not about throwing the baby out with the wash water. It's not about categorically getting rid of ICE or this or that agency. That's not what it's about. Like, for example, I know this is extreme. It's not apples. It's not apples to apples, Alexander.
Oh, good.
But we believe, hopefully, we believe in school and educating our young people. Hopefully, we do. So I believe in teachers. I support teachers. Does that give them a blank check? Does that mean they can molest little boys and girls? But because they're teachers, hey, they're doing a great job. They're teachers. I support teachers. But do you support what that teacher did? That's an extreme example, but the same thing with ICE, the same thing with anything else. If it's good, support the good. If it's hurtful, damaging, detrimental, call it out. Fight against it, get rid of it, revamp it, reboot it, whatever. And I know that was extreme, but that's what I see happening. We believe in teachers, so whatever they do is okay. We believe in priests, so whatever they did to those kids is okay. Islam is a religion, so they can kill people. No. You cannot kill innocent people in the name of Islam. You cannot kill women and children in the name of Islam. No.
Everything and everyone needs to be held accountable for their actions, no matter who you are. You could be Mother Teresa, but if you're hurting the people, then something needs to be done about it to stop it.
It's the same example when we discipline our children. We always love them, but we might not like or we might hate what they're doing. So because we love them, we try to get rid of that thing that is detrimental while still loving them.
Exactly.
I should be able to do that with ICE. I should be able to do that with Mr. President. I should be able to do that with Congress, anybody. You have my support, but not on this issue. You're doing a good job of representing me, but over here, I don't see me at all.
Yeah. Over here, we need some work.
Absolutely. You get it. You get it.
Well, thank you for having me on this.
No, my pleasure. I hope we're a benefit.
Oh,
and we can do this
awesome.
again if you would like, or you think that there's a new way we could look at this or approach, or maybe there's a timely topic or something happening that you think my perspective would add value and benefit.
Sounds perfect to me.
No, we welcome that, and again, you keep doing what you're doing. But again, all the best to you, brother. Keep up the good work.
For inviting me here.
No, thank you, and we'll do it again, God willing.
Sounds good to me. God willing.
Peace to you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you all.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you again, God willing. And be the change you want to see in the world for good.